Good afternoon, everyone. Glad you're here. For the last several weeks, I have been conducting these Friday classes with the theme and the purpose in mind to help you understand how to better compete in this marketplace. Every one of the presentations that we've done have been with that in mind to help you better compete against all the different competitors. Today is no different. We're going to record this session as well. The purposes of this is to help you better understand how to make your competition uncomfortable, how to force them into a pricing situation that they are very uncomfortable doing, and in fact, show our product in a light to the end user that makes it appear in its reality that it is a superior product. We are not a product that is meant to be discounted, given away. It's not a product that um, it's not a cheap product. It's a full featured product. So from that standpoint, we don't expect you to go in and just give it away. We expect you to have uh, some substance behind that. Even if you're doing Aldelo Pay, I've always advocated that you don't have to be the cheapest product or the cheapest processing in order to get the business. I've always advocated that there should be a premium to what we are offering. And these classes that we're producing here are in that light so that you can understand that this does have value, that we do have uh, substantive value to the product. So when we go through today's class, I want you to think about from the standpoint of what can you do to have a conversation with the restaurant owner to let them know how we stand out against the competition. So keep that in mind as we go through this. Today's class is on 5 Aldelo Express features that stop employee theft. In fact, when I went through the class, I titled it 5, but there's a bonus one at the end because some of these kind of merge together, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So let's look at some stats, current theft stats in the industry. These were simple. I Googled statistics on employee theft. I found this website that had some good stats on employee theft that were current. Uh, the title of the article was 49 Shocking Employee Theft Statistics, and they had the 2024 in brackets. So some of the current stats. Employee theft costs businesses about 50 billion each year. And that's billion with a B. That's a ton of money. That's through absolute theft as well as embezzlement. Average theft loss per employee is over $1,500 per employee. That's according to the National Retail Federation. That's substantial. Not many businesses can sustain and keep in business with that type of loss. 43% of employees exaggerate hours worked. That's not included though in that 50 billion number. That 50 billion is cash, assets, and those type of things. The employees who exaggerate their work hours, that's even more. We'll get into that here in a minute. Cash is the most common item that is stolen. Food and beverage is next. That you can kind of understand that in our restaurant industry. You know that food and beverages do get stolen a lot. Clothing in the retail is the next. I find that fascinating that people steal more food and beverages than they do clothing. Then there's time. People steal time. Don't ignore that. That is a true theft item. And then, of course, office supplies and electronics. Now, what are the electronics? iPads, tablets, those things. So they do get stolen. So 33% of retailers report an increase in theft since 2020. The last statistics that I had were from the 2020 year. That's the COVID year. But so pre-COVID statistics to now, 33% report an increase in theft. 11% report a significant increase in theft, not just a normal increase, but even a bigger increase in theft. Employers lose about 40 billion per year to time theft. Now that's in addition to the 50 billion a year they lose in actual cash and assets. So it's a total loss of 450 billion every year between time clock and assets. Huge, huge numbers. 43% of employees misreport hours worked, meaning they're not going to misreport less, they're going to misreport more. So 1/4 of workers exaggerate 75% of their shifts. That means that they over report 75% of the time they work. Buddy punching, you guys have heard us talk about that. That costs employers about 373 million per year. That's punching in someone who's physically not in the restaurant, punching them in or clocking them in before they get to work. That's buddy punching. And of course, now we have a solution that helps that. 75% of employers are affected by buddy punching. And the survey shows that 16% out of 1,000 workers surveyed admitted to buddy punching at least once. So this is the thing. This is more of a reality that either you or the restaurant understands. This is a significant problem. 80% of small businesses find errors on employee timesheets. 56% of errors are found on 1/4 of the employees' time cards. And then 10% of errors are found on half. And then 6% of errors are found on all employees. So this gets to be quite significant when it gets down to how many problems there are. Now, this is on the manual timesheets. So how do you fix that? Well, let's talk about that next. So here's 5 Aldelo Express features that help stop employee theft. First is the employee time clock. So the number one question that I get about time clock and dealing with small to medium businesses is how many employees do you need before that you can justify using the time clock feature on the point of sale? And the answer is that depends. That depends on the hiring practice of that restaurant. It could be as little as 1 if they keep hiring a bunch of thieves. So if they hire dishonest people, having 1 employee is enough to justify it. Since it's included with the system, there's no need to have to pay for it. You might as well use it. So as little as 1 can be justification for doing it. Manual to digital time clock is really a simple step. It is not hard to do. It's a matter of just entering in as little as 3 or 4 digits on the terminal, clocking in, clocking out, clocking in and out for breaks. It takes a little bit, maybe a little bit of time to teach somebody how to do that. But in the end, it's going to take the step and take the place of the over-reporting of the hours that are actually being worked. So manual to digital is a simple step and really needs to be taken. So employee time clock is 1. It eliminates almost all the errors on time clock reporting, makes it a very simple way to do it. Errors are easily adjusted by management, so it does take a manager to go in and adjust the time clock. But then that's an opportunity to be a teaching moment to teach that employee how to properly clock in and out for shifts and breaks. But errors can be easily adjusted by management. Of course, the reporting is improved. You get much better reporting. You get labor reporting. You get percentage, labor cost percentage. There's a lot of side benefits to using that employee time clock. And that really should be something that you, as a salesperson, talk to that owner about the benefits of using that time clock and getting away from that pen and paper. And of course, it does export to payroll. It's very simple, very easy, and it comes off in a format that is easily imported into those payroll packages. Number two is scheduling. That is easily set up. Employee scheduling is not hard to do. Of course, the fewer the employees, the easier it is. But it is easy to set up and easy to use. You can copy schedules from one week to the next. That is something we get asked is, can I set this up once and use the same schedule every week? Absolutely. You certainly can. Copy that schedule from one week to the next. And it reduces overtime and riding the clock, because when you have the employee schedule, you can set the grace period for clocking in before the shift and clocking out after the shift. So those grace periods help reduce the amount of time that they are clocked in but not actually working. So riding the clock is dramatically reduced, as well as that overtime hours that they were working before are now going to be reduced. The ROI here can get huge, and it can get huge in a hurry. Sometimes so much so it's almost unbelievable by the restaurant owner. Stop an employee clocking in 10 minutes early. You get 6 employees doing that. That's 1 hour. At $15 an hour times 30 days, that's $450 a month. The ROI is huge. And you say, well, $15 an hour. Well, okay, that's where this industry is either at or heading that way in a hurry. So that's why I use that $15. This is a big ROI, and you need to get comfortable discussing this with the restaurant owner. Just having 6 employees clocking in 10 minutes early is a huge amount of money when it comes to payroll. AI facial recognition, it dramatically reduces buddy punching. Makes it really simple, and it's pretty fast to clock in and punch in as well. It does also require managers to physically come to the terminal to authorize a voided return. They have to stick their face in the camera in order to authorize a return. That makes the theft reduced as well. So not only do you reduce the buddy punching with facial recognition, you're going to reduce the amount of theft, voids, and returns as well. So this is a twofold benefit with AI facial recognition. Required beverage, you've heard me preach on this one before. It requires a beverage per entree. This is where the server, they prepare their own soft beverages, the teas, coffees, and the sodas. So this will help by reducing the theft of those items, because they will then give those items or produce those items and present them to the table without charging for them, in hopes of getting a better tip. This eliminates the soft beverage theft. This is simple to sell, and it makes a big difference. The restaurant owner is going to realize just how often this happens. And you can use the ROI that we're going to talk about here for one server, but in their mind, they're going to be thinking it's every server. So it's very simple to set up as well. So it's simple to sell, simple to set up. It's a hard savings. Now, there's a difference between hard and soft savings. A hard savings is one that doesn't take any effort on the restaurant owner at all to realize. A soft savings is one they have to do some work. They have to read a report. They got to take action, something. This is a hard savings, means there's no effort required by the owner. Once we set it up, it's on autopilot. If you do $3.50 a drink, if that server is giving away 4 drinks a day, that's $14 a day times 30 days. It's $420 a month. That's an easy ROI, because that's $420 per server that's doing this. And if you got one doing it, you got more than one. And that's what that restaurant owner is going to understand. So this ROI is huge, and it doesn't take any effort on their part. The point of sale system does all the work for them. Then this one kind of goes along with it, called a high tip warning. This is a programmable tip amount that tracks the high tips. So if you have a server who is getting a lot of high tips, you have to then kind of guess as to what are they giving away to get those high tips. Probably not good service. It's probably soft beverages, teas, coffees, sodas, something they're giving away in order to get that high tip. So this is a programmable amount that you can set that will then give a report that identifies the problem or the potential problem of a server who's getting higher than normal tips. Then that helps look for that potential theft. Probably is that soft beverage, but it could be something else. But high tip warning is a good report. It's in the audit section of the back office that needs to be run. And as a salesperson, you need to show that and talk that to that restaurant owner about this feature. So this one goes along with the required beverage. If you had required beverage turned on and programmed and set up, this probably would not happen. You probably would not have a high tip warning. I said probably, there might be others, but this is certainly worth showing and talking about. And then I guess the bonus one here is the cashier blind balancing. This requires the cashiers to actually enter the denominations of the cash in the till before and after their shift. This is done by pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, singles, fives, tens, 20s, whatever the denominations are. They enter them in to start the transaction or to start their shift. And at the end of the shift, they do the same thing. This then balances the till to sales without the cashier knowing how much they should have. This will help find a problem. This will help find a potential thief. This is something that is easily done. It does take a little effort, so I can't claim it's a hard savings, but it certainly will catch any problems there are with a cashier. So let's take a look at that and let's let Rodney teach us how to make that happen.
So we're going to go ahead and start on the cloud on Happy's Grow Demo Store here. Now to configure the cashier options, we are going to go into the settings, store config, and financial config. And you will see here the cashier tab, we'll select that. The first thing you'll see are the cashier options. And you'll see there is the auto cashier sign-in option. What is recommended is to either set this to none or prompt sign-in upon login. Now, if it's set to none, the cashier will have to access the miscellaneous and start the bank manually. If it is set to prompt sign-in upon login, once the cashier employee logs into the application, it will prompt them to start their cash bank. And there's also the auto sign-in upon login. Now, this is not recommended because you see when I do select it, you can enter a value for the start amount. If you do not enter a value, there is no physical count of what is in the cash drawer. So there is no verification of the money in the cash tray. I'll go ahead and set it to none. And there are other settings for the cashier that can be configured here. You'll see under the server bank options, as long as the server bank feature is enabled, you'll see that it does have the same options as the cashier and can be customized as needed. Then we'll go into the cash count options here. All right, so you'll see that the cash count feature is enabled here. And below that, you can define the different denominations. So you'll see the different denominations defined here. And on the application, the cashier will enter the quantity per denomination and Express will calculate the total in the cash drawer. Now it is best to enable the cash count feature because if it is not enabled, it is less accurate as the cashier will just enter the amount. There can be discrepancy where the counter miscounted or maybe someone is taking money out of the cash drawer or maybe shorted the drawer expecting the money to be a specific amount when it is not. And then below that, you will see the cashier sign in and sign out options here. It's best to have this enabled and required, so it does force the cashier to count the money upon starting their bank and ending their bank. Below that, you'll see another option. It is best to disable this option, as the cashier may blindly enter the quantity without actually counting the quantity per denomination there. All right, so we'll go ahead and save this and move over to the application. So we're going to go ahead and log into the application. We'll go ahead and start a cashier. So we'll tap on miscellaneous and select cashier. So this is what the cash count will look like if we did enable the hints, which, as I mentioned, can serve as a crutch as the counter may not accurately count what's in the cash drawer. So we'll go ahead and begin our cash count now. So our cash start amount will be $300. I'll go and push some orders through, some with cash, with some gift and gratuity enabled, so that we will also count the gratuity that is paid out to an employee, and we'll fast forward after that. Okay, so these are the three orders I pushed through here, 005-10 through 005-12. The -10 and -12 were both cash transactions, where it totals $40.55. Order with -11 was paid with a gift card with a $7.67 gratuity. So at this point, we should expect $32.88 over the start amount. So we'll go into the cashier. We'll go into the edit gratuity. You'll see that we did add the tip in there. We'll perform our payout so that the tip out is recorded under the employee and is deducted from the cash drawer. So now that $7.67 is deducted from the expected amount. We'll go into our report here and you'll see the cash transactions and the tip out. So that gift does not affect the amount in the cash drawer outside of the payout, which is paid out from the cash drawer. And you'll see the cash due to store is $32.88. So that's the report there. And when we're ready to sign out, we can perform the cashier out. So we'll go and enter the expected amounts as I have calculated here. As you can see, the total does match, and we'll go to hit done. And the cashier sign out is successful. I'll go ahead and hand it back to you, Jerry.
All right. That worked out well. So, Rodney, what would happen if that amount was not the exact amount?
Okay, so there are a couple settings in the cash count options where there is a cashier sign out on hand cash over discrepancy, and then short discrepancy. Those were turned off, but you can turn them on. There's a disabled option, enabled but optional, and enabled but required. If those are enabled, the counter will have the capability of, or the opportunity to put a reason why it's either short or over, and they have the same options for the server bank as well. And those responses will be recorded under the cashier. So if you look under the cashier report, it will show there, and also at the end of day, it will show the under the cash count if there's a discrepancy why it was over or why it was under.
Okay, so when they enter they actually count each one of the tenders, each denomination, they enter that in. It's not like they're going for nickels. They don't go 5, 10, 15, 20 as far as denomination goes. They go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 nickels. And they enter that in. The system does the calculation.
Correct.
At the end of that, it's going to do an over or short. And if it's either one, then they have to come up with a reason, and a reason code pops up on the screen. Is that correct?
Correct, as long as those settings are enabled on the cloud, yes.
Okay. And I would recommend those settings be set so if you're going to use blind balancing, that you're forcing that cashier to explain themselves why they had an overage or a shortage. All right. Very, very good. So now, why does it matter? So POS systems should be the enforcers of the restaurant policies. That is, not only for cash accountability, but for all aspects of the payments portions of the system. We should be the enforcers. We should be the ones who make sure that the policies of that restaurant with regard to cash and payments handling is taken care of. It's not just a place where we enter orders and make change. The POS system is an absolute solution, and it needs to be sold as such. Theft is all over restaurants. We talked about theft being food, beverages, cash. There's all manner of theft in a restaurant. Our solution is supposed to, at the minimum, make it harder to steal, but at the best, to stop it. So why it matters is that the POS systems should be a solution with regard to managing and stopping theft. We have to control people, payments, and profits. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to control the three P's. You should find a way to have this discussion with the owner. And it's a sensitive subject. You don't want to start off with saying that he's got thieves in his employee files. You need to have that discussion of, have you noticed X, Y, or Z? Or do you think it's possible that so and so and so and so? You have to have this discussion. You have to find a way to do it. Your competitors aren't. They're just not doing it, mainly because they don't understand the concepts of what we're supposed to do. Your competitors sell on price. And what I'm teaching you is how to use that to your advantage. Price is not the only reason people buy a system. You keep wondering how to stand out? This is it. This is just a great way to do it, is have that relationship with that restaurant owner, that they come to you with their problem, in this case, theft, and that you have the solution because you have the system that you can apply to that problem. Having the lowest price is not the best way to beat your competition. It never has been and never will be. I've made a really good living not being the lowest price in any situation. You need to learn how to be a better salesperson and have those conversations so that you can beat your competition more than just by having the better price. People, owners of restaurants will pay good money to solve their problems. You have the solution. You just need to be presenting it. You do that through a consultative selling and total cost of ownership approach. Those two combined there with consultative selling, providing them a solution based on their needs with a total cost of ownership approach, will overcome price almost every time. No doubt about it, hands down. This is the best way to beat your competition. We've been talking about this really for the first 3 months of the year, of how to be a better salesperson, do consultative selling, using the total cost of ownership approach, not being the cheapest, but being the best. And that's what I need you to do. All right, any questions? If you have a question and you'd like to use that react button, you will raise your hand. I'll see that and unmute you, or you can put comments and questions in the chat. I can tell you that this type of selling, where you're having those conversations, is going to beat out your competition. They are not doing it. They come in and they say, this is the system, this is what you need, and here's the price, and you need to get it. They may sell on price, maybe discount, but they're not talking to the restaurant owner about their problems or providing them a solution. They're just saying, here, this is what you need, and this is how much it costs. If you want to get around that, if you want to beat that, this is the way to do it.